In the top stories, former Governor-General Sir Cuthbert Sebastian passes away. The PLP holds its inaugural national convention, and Mothers Union hosts luncheon for Carden Home residents. We'll be right back with the details after this. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Channel 5 Newscast. I'm Jason Davis. The nation is mourning the passing of former Governor-General Sir Cuthbert Sebastian, GCMG OBE MDCM. Sir Cuthbert passed away on Saturday night at his home. On Sunday morning, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris visited the family of the late Sir Cuthbert to pay his respects on behalf of the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis. He said, quote, "May you find comfort and peace in the fond remembrances that many people both at home and abroad have of him, from his stellar service in the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force as its long-standing captain surgeon, in the HM Royal Air Force as a rear gunner during World War II, and as a captain in the Scottish Army during the 1960s, as well as in myriad capacities within the Federation's healthcare sector," end quote. The Honourable Prime Minister noted that Sir Cuthbert mastered every one of those positions, making a name for himself in his own right and stepping out of his father's shadow during the process. Sir Cuthbert earned a Bachelor of Science degree from Mount Allison University in Canada and a Doctor of Medicine and Master of Surgery degree from Dalhousie University. He later pursued training in obstetrics and gynecology at Dundee Royal Infirmary in Scotland in the UK. Upon his return to the Federation, he worked again at the hospital as medical superintendent and obstetrician gynecologist, and later served as chief medical officer. Prime Minister Harris also noted that, quote, "Sir Cuthbert was a Renaissance man, demonstrating many talents and a penchant for excellence, even at a very early age when he was a pupil teacher, teaching the younger boys at the school he attended in Basse-Terre. We have lost a treasure, but how blessed we are to have had him. Tonight, the many mothers and fathers whose babies he delivered are thinking of him. Sir Cuthbert Sebastian's body is gone, but his legacy lives on in countless ways," end quote. The former Governor-General's death comes 13 days after Sir Probin Innes's. Sir Probin, who died at the age of 80, served as governor from 1975 to 1981. He was accorded a state funeral with full military honors this past Thursday. The People's Labour Party, or PLP, held its inaugural national convention on Saturday at the Tabernacle Recreation Grounds, where a new executive was also introduced. The convention was attended by hundreds of party members and supporters, including Deputy Prime Minister the Honourable Sean Richards, Senior Minister and Premier of Nevis the Honourable Vance Amory, and other members of the Federal Cabinet, as well as members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps. Following a lively public session, which included performances and speeches by the three leaders of the Team Unity administration, party members gathered for the private session and voted on the new executive. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honourable Timothy Harris, was returned as National Party leader. The Honourable Akil Byron Nisbet was elected the new National Deputy Leader. Other appointments include Warren Thompson as National Chairman, Craig Tuckett returning as National Deputy Chairman, Myrtilla Williams as the new National Secretary, Christophe Grier as Deputy Secretary, Victor Earl as Treasurer, Claudette Thompson as Deputy Treasurer, and Alexis Nisbet as the National Party Organizer. Dr. Harris also noted that the party has proposed some changes to the Constitution.
The fundamental changes that have been made to the Constitution adds to the governance and the greater efficiency of our party. The Constitution clearly defines the rights and privileges of founding members. Hitherto, these were not expressed explicitly. We have done so, while at the same time preserving the democracy of the party and the authority legitimately given by the process of elections which will take place here.
The Prime Minister also noted changes to the office of the party executive.
We have strengthened the office of the party executive to provide for a broader range of skills, of talent, of knowledge and expertise, so as to guide, direct, advise, and organize us as a modern mass political party.
Sonia Henry and Tishana Norford will serve as the representatives of the women's arm of the party, while Manassas Huggins and Damian Weeks will serve as the representatives of the youth arm. Donald Keynes and Heston Ham were elected to serve as National Party trustees. In other news, the police are investigating a stabbing incident in Miss Janet Alley in McKnight Village that resulted in the death of a teenage boy. According to reports, at about 10 p.m. on Saturday, a fight broke out between a 15-year-old male and his 21-year-old brother. The police say during the fight, the 21-year-old stabbed the teenager. The suspect is still in police custody. Investigations are ongoing. On Sunday, the St. Kitts Mothers Union took time out to serve lunch to the residents of the Cardin home. The members chatted with the residents and joined in a short worship service with Canon Isaiah Phillip. Island President of the Mothers Union, Claudia Williams, said the group is happy to reach and connect with the residents of the Cardin home.
It is indeed a pleasure for us every year to be here and to dialogue with the residents here at the Cardin home, and also to share lunch with them. It is indeed a pleasure. We want to remember at this time some of our shut-ins who are not here at the moment. We want to say that may God continue to bless and keep them, and also the residents here, that we want to say to them that we have not forgotten them, and that is why it is always a privilege and a pleasure for us to come here every year to be with them.
The Mothers Union also handed over a collection of toiletries to the home and promised to make a larger donation in the future. The luncheon at the Cardin home is an annual event hosted by the Mothers Union. Coming up, we'll have another look at some of the stories from the past week. Stay tuned.
Courts must be crazy. Courts mad again. Courts must be crazy. You can't complain. It's madness. And courts during the month of March. Huge savings up to 50% off and pay nothing for 60 days. Visit a court store near you for pure madness. Look out for crazy deals up to 50% off and you pay nothing for 60 days. The mano only a court. To miss it would be pure madness. Courts must be crazy. What? Courts must be mad. Oh, you mean? Courts must be crazy. Courts mad again. Courts bringing value home.
A state funeral was held for the late Sir Probin Innes on Thursday. Shaira Flanders has more.
ZIZ has joined with family members, friends and members of the general public to witness the state funeral of the late Governor Sir Probin Innes at the Wesley Methodist Church on Seaton Street in downtown Bastille. The atmosphere was filled with love, camaraderie and patriotism as hundreds gathered to pay their respects at the funeral service of the late Sir Probin Innes. Tributes in the form of song and poetry were presented by friends and members of the Innes family. Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, led the scripture reading while Probin Innes Jr. read the eulogy in respect to his late father. Among those attending the ceremony were His Excellency the Governor General, Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, members of the Federal Cabinet, former Governor General Sir Edmund Lawrence and Lady Lawrence, members of the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force and other security forces, the Right Honourable Dr. Denzil Douglas and other members of the opposition, members of the Nevis Island Assembly, former government ministers, family members, friends, students, and members of the general public. The state funeral service of the late Sir Probin Innes was followed by a procession to the Springfield Cemetery. Sir Probin Innes MBE was a former governor who served as the governor of St. Christopher Nevis Anguilla from 1975 to 1980 and was knighted by Britain's Queen Elizabeth in 1976. Following the separation of Anguilla, Sir Innes served as the governor of St. Christopher and Nevis from 1980 to 1981. Sir Probin leaves his wife, Lady Rosamond Innes, and his 3 children. Sir Probin Ellsworth Innes MBE was was born on November 18, 1936. He died on Sunday, March 12th. He was 80 years old. And although the revolutionary leader's journey has come to an end, he will always be remembered as a father, a husband, a friend, a visionary, and a fellow Kittitian and Nevision who laid down his life for the advancement of his country. Reporting from the Wesley Methodist Church on Seaton Street in downtown Bastia, St. Kitts, I am Shaira Flanders for ZIZ News.
The government has announced a temporary ban on certain foods from Brazil. This follows similar restrictions made by the governments of Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago after reports surfaced that certain Brazilian companies were exporting meats that were unfit for consumption. According to a statement issued on Friday, the National Agriculture, Health and Food Safety Advisory Committee convened an urgent meeting on Thursday and agreed on 2 recommendations relating to the importation of meat products into St. Kitts Nevis. The committee agreed to impose a temporary ban on the importation of all animal and animal products from Brazil as, quote, we have lost confidence in that country's certification process for the export of meat, end quote. The committee also agreed to remove all corned beef imported from and originating in Brazil from store shelves. The products will be detained until they have received more information on the specific batch numbers and companies that are implicated in the packaging of rotten beef in that country. These precautionary measures are recommended to protect the general population from potentially tainted products. The National Agriculture, Health and Food Safety Advisory Committee is made up of the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Department of Consumer Affairs, the Bureau of Standards, and the Customs and Excise Department. 32 police constables have taken on the initiative to serve the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis as members of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. Shaira Flanders tells us more.
Service to country is on the upswing with the nation's youth as 34 recruits committed themselves to participate in the 26 weeks police training course number 41 during an opening ceremony at the police training complex on Monday morning. While addressing the recruits, Commissioner of Police Ian Quigley commended them for taking on the initiative to serve.
To commend you on the initiative to come forward and serve your country in such a capacity as a police officer. Persons join the force for varying reasons, but it is my fervent hope that all of you gathered here today have come into this establishment for the right reasons, and that is to serve and protect our nation.
Commissioner Quigley told the recruits that they should expect a stronger bond after graduating at the end of the course.
We are here now as a very diverse group, but within the next few months, because I say few months because they will go by so quickly, you should be coming out as a unit, much more close-knit.
And during his brief address, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Osmond Petty, commended the women for considering a career in the male-dominated field.
This is a tough organization, and we need people who are physically fit. We need people who are mentally fit. And so we would want a police force which have a good or acceptable ratio of females, but we also want people who are going to go the full course. And so I want to congratulate especially the females who have been selected. Some of them, I think, I see familiar names here who go a couple of years back, so it means you have been really recruits for a while, or in the police force for a while before you've been trained.
The police training course number 41 consists of 9 women constables and 25 males. Training class 41 follows the passing out of a police class in July 2016 and the passing out for the Defense Force class in December. The opening ceremony was chaired by Public Relations Officer in the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Grell Brown. Reporting for ZIZ News, I am Shaira Flanders.
The National Emergency Management Agency and its stakeholders conducted its annual natural disaster exercise in the Sandy Point area on Tuesday. Carla Berridge was on site and filed this report.
It began with the simulation of an earthquake early Tuesday morning, which posed a tsunami threat. An alarm sounded at the targeted institutions, and everyone was rushed toward the designated assembly point, the new Sandy Point Recreation Ground, to receive further information. Exercise controller for NEMA, Ivor Blake, said the agency brought its stakeholders together to assist in the response to the threat of a tsunami. He spoke of the objectives of the exercise.
So we want to basically test the communication between the tsunami focal point, which was the police force telecommunication, and the disaster response agencies, and to see how that communication right along the line is conducted. So we simulated a earthquake which posed a tsunami threat, and which in turn caused the agencies to communicate that down to the general public in the real situation, and hence an evacuation from the areas that will be affected to a place relatively safe, so that we could account for those persons.
Mr. Blake said it was important that the public be aware of what they're supposed to do if there is a tsunami.
This is something that we hope that the general public would be aware to, and because as we see most of the coast, people live right on the coast. So in the event of a tsunami impact, those areas will be inundated, and we want people to know where the safe areas that they can go here right around the island.
Deputy National Disaster Coordinator Claricia Langley-Stevens explained why they chose Sandy Point for this exercise.
The reason why we targeted Sandy Point is Sandy Point's geologic layout allows for us to have a lot of constraints, and so we wanted to see how our stakeholders will be able to deal with these constraints in the event that we are impacted during the daytime where persons are at work and in school. Of course, you know, this exercise can also be done in the night, but we wanted that human element in terms of participation.
Executive member of NEMA District 5, Claudius Gums, explained the role of evaluators during the exercise.
My aim, me and the police officer, Sergeant Henry, we are here to make sure that when the students come up from the Sandy Point High School and the preschool and the primary school, that they are safe, guide them to the route, and take them to the new recreation ground. That's where we will climax, and we will discuss the whole exercise and so on.
The police force, fire and rescue services, Red Cross, and the Ministry of Education are the entities that partnered with NEMA. Following the simulated exercise, the evaluators returned to the Charles E. Mills Secondary School for a debriefing in efforts that NEMA would receive feedback from all stakeholders. Approximately 1,200 persons participated from the 5 targeted institutions: the Charles E. Mills Secondary School, the Sandy Point Primary and Preschools, and Harrow Server Buildings 1 and 2. Carib Wave is an annual tsunami exercise. Its major objective is for countries, emergency management stakeholders, and communities at risk to test, validate, and update their tsunami response plans.
According to the evaluators, the evacuation process was indeed a success. Reporting from the new recreation ground in Sandy Point, I'm Kyla Verridge.
After the break, Guyana to review its sewage disposal system, and medical workers in parts of Nigeria are treating millions affected by malnutrition. Stay tuned.
It's the Courts Home Event. Shop today and complete your kitchen, your dining room, and your entertainment room. Shop using Ready Finance. It's easy, affordable, and flexible credit. Plus, you pay nothing down on purchases 24 months and over. So come in today and get great deals to complete your home at the Courts Home Event. Courts, bringing value home.
The Guyana Water Company is embarking on a comprehensive review of the sewage disposal system, which it says has been badly managed for a long period of time. Ayana George reports.
Chief Executive of GWI, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, wants to modernize the country's sewage disposal system to bring it in line with international best practices. He was glaringly displeased with what has been passing for sewage disposal in this country when he addressed a forum to commemorate World Water Day on Wednesday.
Despite a plethora of septic tanks countrywide, we have over the years observed a deviation from the established designs and construction of these units. In other words, there has been a period of lawlessness.
The main issue at hand is the disposal of wastewater from sewage and the danger it poses to society as a whole.
Our engineers are therefore collectively seeking to arrive at a more efficient septic tank design, and in some cases looking at their replacement with wastewater treatment plants.
Improperly disposed wastewater has the potential to foster the infestation of rodents, cockroaches, flies, and other insects that can do untold harm to the environment and the society. And achieving success in the fight to keep them in check will require attitudinal changes from citizens, according to Mr. Van West Charles.
On the occasion of World Water Day 2017, I call on all citizens to work with us and adapt to the necessary changes needed to improve the way we use and dispose of wastewater in our homes, in our communities, in our region, and in our nation.
Reporting for HGP Nightly News, Ayana George.
Internationally, medical workers in northeastern Nigeria are treating large numbers of children affected by malnutrition. The UN World Food Programme says an estimated 4.5 million people in the region are now in need of emergency food aid. Violence by the armed group Boko Haram and fighting with government forces has left 1.8 million people displaced. Al Jazeera's Mohammed Val reports.
After 6 weeks of treatment, Mohammed's health is getting better. His sickness was a result of severe malnutrition, a condition that has affected thousands of children in northeastern Nigeria. Dr. Mala Ibrahim says they're getting more patients inside this tent clinic.
Like today, it's more than 50 child were registered. New and old.
The rations which relief agencies and the Nigerian government distribute here have to some extent lessened the suffering of hundreds of thousands in this area. But it doesn't mean people receive enough. They need to share already limited quantities of cereals.
They gave us 4 sacks to be divided between 40 people, and we have nothing else to eat at home.
The conflict between the Nigerian army and Boko Haram has devastated the livelihood of civilians in this area. The World Food Programme says an estimated 4.7 million people are in dire need for food in northeastern Nigeria. People who escaped from areas that are under Boko Haram control complain of untold hardships. Neighboring governments in the Lake Chad region have placed a ban on fuel and food supplies coming to areas occupied by armed groups. And the UN has declared the Lake Chad region with its 17 million people a disaster zone. Mohammed Val, Al Jazeera.
We'll be right back with a recap of the top stories. Stay tuned. Recapping the top stories, former Governor General Sir Cuthbert Sebastian passes away. PLP holds inaugural national convention, and Mothers Union hosts luncheon for Carden Home residents. That's it for the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jason Davis.